Unbelievable. Yeah, looking good.
How are you, my friend? You okay?
Yeah, I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good. Yes, I am. Sorry, I'm going to be a bit quieter than usual. You'll all be relied. I've just managed to scold myself with pot noodles, so feeling a little bit, a little bit.
Oh, haute cuisine today, eh?
The tough questions are already coming from Mark Newton. Shocking peach hair. Thank you for that. I think that one was for me.
Are you happy for me to go live? Because
I am. We've already looked. The participants already coming in. Let's have a look. Attendees arriving here. We've got Mark, Nat, Sarah. Hello already. Get it up. I'm amazed anyone's in at the moment, to be honest, considering
everybody's back at everybody's back at work. I mean, from what I'm hearing, it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be a different. Sometimes it can be busy, and again, you're full of. But it's a bit of a false busy because obviously a lot of still tire kickers. I would imagine everyone who's there now is about the most motivated, motivated of all clients, aren't they at the moment? So that's got to be good news. And the question is obviously how long it will last for. And actually, I'll ask you that later on, so don't answer now.
Well, I'm going to answer it now to spoil it for later.
Brilliant. Okay.
I know. I think business owners have got some really tough decisions to make. When to unfurlough people, who to bring in. When you've got to look at who's got vulnerable people that they live with, who's got vulnerable parents, who's got kids. So you've got some leaders have got some tough decisions to make, and it is going to be interesting. And then also, as you rightly say, it could be a massive wave of people now, and it is from all the agents I'm speaking to, of pent up demand. The amount of viewings. I mean, I think Rightmove said they put on over 2,150 properties yesterday in the last 24 hours. I've spoken to an agent today that have had over 200 inquiries in and phone calls already, and it's absolutely crazy. So are you understaffed now? So do you bring people back off furlough now and then you refurlough them in 3 weeks' time if things get quieter, or 6 weeks' time?
And I believe all of those people that listed property were Kerfuffle clients. I haven't had it confirmed yet. If you want a secret source,
I'm going to be keeping one eye on the Q&A.
I bet you are.
And Andy Overman has asked, when does he get his pink Kerfuffle Speedos? If you don't mind, I'll take that question. Andy, a pair of pink Kerfuffle Speedos, an extra small, is on its way to you. All that we request from any of our fans is that when we send you a piece of Kerfuffle merch, you take a picture of yourself wearing it so that we can post it on all the social media channels.
As long as it's not an illegal scene, and I can't stress this enough, no crime watch or anything like that.
Okay, Thetford's finest.
We kick it off, people. Come on, let's get professional.
Let's kick it off. So this is not a podcast. I have to remember that, yeah? This is a Kerfuffle Campus special with none other than industry great, Mr. Simon Whale.
Hey! Well done.
And of course, estate agent trainer to the stars, Mr. Stephen Brown from SJB Consulting. Mr. Brown, welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mintz. Shalom to you, and
shalom.
And shalom to Mr. Whale.
It's not ski season. What are you on about?
I want to know where the crumble is, though.
Good. Can I just say you're looking exceedingly bronzed. You're looking lovely.
It's most kind of you. So Speedos that you gave me, I wanted to be extra small. I wanted to make sure I could fit into them as well.
Can we just? I'll have to take David up on this later, but let's just deal with the first thing. You gave him all of those plaudits, but not the most important one, which is, of course, he is the number one, not just trainer, coach, guru. He's the number one supplier by a country mile on the entire Kerfuffle website, with a scarcely believable 5 out of 5 rating from 72 reviews, 70 reviews.
And I'm going to give the social proof to back that up. I have dealt with a lot of trainers in my time, personal trainers mostly for my fitness. I wear those guys out very quickly. But Mr. Brown is more than just a trainer. He's a friend, he's a mentor, he's an inspiration, and he's one of the nicest guys in the industry. And I am not surprised at all that he's got 70 reviews.
Absolutely sickening, that is.
And Stephen, I'm not accepting cash payments at the moment due to Corona. If you could transfer it, I'd be much obliged.
Yeah, for pennies are on the way in the post. You just can't touch them for God knows how long.
Really. So what that's left you with there, basically, apart from owing him a pint, is you've got now to deliver, unfortunately, Stephen. So this is going to be a Q&A from the two greatest minds, and David, and we're going to try and just get a feel from you, obviously, about the very liquid situation that's obviously out there at the moment, and any other tidbits you've got. By all means, let's just say hello to everybody. Hello, everyone who's joining us live on here and on Facebook and all the 1,000,001 different groups that David has managed to stream this to as well. So, well, I suppose let's just kick off. What have you made of the week's announcement so far? Obviously, it's off, it's on. We're back in again. What do you make of that?
Well, up to last Sunday, I was a massive fan of what the government had done. The help that they've given to the industry and, you know, all businesses. And then it started off with that slogan, stay alert, control the virus and whatever it was. And, you know, what the hell is all that about? How can you control a virus that you can't even see? And then personally, I thought Boris's speech just totally confused the and it doesn't take, I'm very easily confused, but he just totally confused me. You know, are we going back to work? Aren't we going back to work? And then obviously the announcement the following day was just, wow, that's crazy. You know, you haven't given anybody any chance to do anything. But actually, you know, and this is an important point, you know, this is for England. You know, Wales and Scotland haven't gone back to work yet. So all the Welsh and Scottish agents, you know, what can you learn from what, you know, England's going through at the moment? Because you need to get yourself ready. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of agents that are most probably not, there was a lot of, you know, I've been doing a lot of work and a lot of calls with people, and there's still people at 11 o'clock that are in their dressing gown. So this is going to be a massive shock to the system. You've got to be potentially up running, you know, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning, and yet
what are they doing up that early at 11?
Well, you're just coming in at that time anyway, so
coming in or coming out, that's a really key distinction there. So
I've got to be very careful what I say. If you want to come out to everybody now in public, that's entirely up to you.
Now imagine the surprise. None.
Worst kept secret in the industry, that.
Surprised about that, Stephen, about Boris, because of course famously he wrote a letter saying why we should be in Europe, and also one that said why we should be out of Europe. So it's in his makeup and DNA, isn't it, to be slightly...
Well, it's a typical politician, but what he's done is he's just confused loads of people. So it's absolutely fine for me to go into somebody's house, but I can't see my family. You know, it's crazy.
Got a question that we may as well deal
with
already. Mark Newton has asked, does the panel think that the government will financially blackmail by the property market to reopen? I'll give you my opinion on that. I don't think they were blackmailed by the property market. I think they were blackmailed by the house builders. I think house builders said, look, we're not bringing back construction workers if we cannot sell the finished product. Yeah. And I think they then put pressure on the government to force the property market to open. And I think, although to the public, we all need to appear to be very enthusiastic and to be embracing new safety measures and to be glad that we're back at work. Personally, there's a part of me that feels we've been thrown under the bus and that we are being sacrificed for the benefit of kickstarting the market again.
Okay,
That's my opinion.
So the cynic in me sees that the government have been amazing giving all these grants, these loans of furloughing, etc., etc. But there are 450,000 or 355,000 transactions still going on that were in the pipeline. Getting stamp duty in very quickly is going to help pay some bills.
Yeah.
Look, from my point of view, I live with a vulnerable person. My wife had a blood transfusion yesterday. Is this the sort of thing that I think's right? No. I totally understand, people have got to earn a living, but for me, it's all about people are far more important. Safety is far more important. You're seeing what's going on in Germany, with a second wave, without a shadow of doubt. I'm not a doctor, but, I think there's going to be a second wave going.
I can't see how they can't be. Can you, Stephen? I mean, as you said, we're not doing the Karen from Facebook sort of thing here, but we've seen the way the public was scattering around the parks and everything else before that, and people are London buses and from what I can see, and streets are completely full again now. This unless this virus has infected far more of us, and as some people are suggesting, we've got semi-herd immunity at the moment, which just feels far too soon. It's just not right, is it? But
look, I don't think it's right, but you could see over the course of the last 4 or 5 weeks, every week you look at Yomdal did that survey. There was another survey that came up. There's more and more information saying that people have had enough. They want to get on with their lives. They want to move. For me, we've been in lockdown for 7 or 8 weeks. Why not wait another 3 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever it is, to at least have a better understanding of what's going on.
And even then, they could have phased it in, so it would have been very easy for them to say, "Okay, guys, property market's reopening. I'm afraid there's going to be no valuations at the moment. You can do viewings on empty properties. The protocol is you open the door, you run for cover, people can go, whatever it was going to be." But instead, all he's done is he's opened everything up at once. And I think for the average agent, they have effectively delegated their duties to us to decide and to interpret the very rough guidance that we've received. There will be different standards of PPE employed by each agent. There'll be different standards on we see it in the groups. There's some fantastic sharing going on out there. And I'd encourage agents to collaborate as much as possible, if anything, so that we can all find a nice middle ground, that we're all adhering to the same standards. But it's shocking, really, when you think about it.
Well, look, we were all immigration officers. We're all immigration officers when it comes to right to rent as well.
Yeah.
Well, how's that work?
Yeah,
Why are agents and letting agents be given all that liability? It's ridiculous. It's like, for some reason the government and the public don't like estate agents, so let's make sure that they have a disease and let's wipe them out.
I've got a really good question that came up today. A colleague that you will know very well within the industry texted me. He said, "Look, I've had a lettings inquiry from a nurse. We have asked the questions because we have a series of questions that we ask to make sure that these people are physically fit before they come to do a viewing. We've asked them whether they have been exposed to COVID virus or had symptoms, and the nurse said, there's just no way. I've not been tested. I don't know. I could have been. I do work in a hospital. I am on the front line. I'm a key worker. Let me view the property." Now, that's all well and good. I agree. We should be making properties available to key workers first because they need it. There's people that have been moved from hospital to hospital. But how on earth then do you justify the added risk of actually putting those people in front of key spreaders, if you like? So it's really difficult.
Well, I suppose it's, the vacant properties, I think it's absolutely fine. The thing is, if you look at all the reasons why people need to move, so you think you've been in lockdown for 7 weeks, your kids are driving you mad, your wife's driving you mad. I've had people that I know that have passed away, so you're going to have deaths. There's going to be births now. So people are going to need to move. So I can understand why there's this pent up demand. I can understand why people want to put their properties on the market, but it's all about safety, and you've got to be doing exactly the right thing. And you've got to be making that very clear to all your customers, your vendors, your landlords, your purchasers, your tenants, and more importantly, your staff as well, and your team. You know, every single person is really, really important. So it is a shock, and maybe it's come earlier than we all expected. You know, I expected people to come back in 3 weeks, so it's all about preparing it. But you don't have to open straight away. You know, you can have a stage opening. Some people I know, they're going to keep their people working from home anyway, because they can't get the equipment, they can't have the distancing in their offices. And so obviously, you know, you've got to look after your staff. They've got to come first. If a vendor is that desperate to sell, you know, if it was me and it was my agency today, you know, I would feel very comfortable turning away business, you know, and that may be very hard to say to take to some people, and some people will think I'm absolutely mad. But, you know, that's the way I feel. But everybody's got to be different. It's not for me to tell anybody how to run their business. You know, I know for a fact people were flaunting the guidelines whilst we were in lockdown. You know, there were agents taking on properties. There were agents going to properties where people were living there and taking Matterports and photos and whatever. But what this is going to do is I think Zoom has demonstrated that we can do so many different things. So I did a little exercise because, you know, obviously one of my favorite courses, or one I'm known for, is Turn Your Data into Gold.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to see, actually, could I still book market appraisals in the lockdown, or had I lost my touch? But virtual market appraisals.
Yeah.
So again, I put on the post, and David, you were kind enough to share it, where I wanted to speak to landlords and vendors. So an ex-colleague of mine from Green and Company, who I hadn't seen for 6 years, got in contact with me, and I said, you know, can I ask you a question? How long have you been living in your property for? 7 years. Said, so in those 7 years, did you buy it through an estate agent? Yes. So in those 7 years, how many times have you heard from your estate agent? Never. So another one that's gone into witness protection with like 95%, with like 95% of all the vendors out there, previous buyers who never hear from their agents. So I said, just out of interest, you know, what have you done to it since you've been there? So I said, we've done this, we've done that, we've done that. So I said, well, what do you think it's worth? I've got no idea. So I said, well, would you be curious to know? And she said, yes. So I said, look, obviously at the moment, you know, I don't feel comfortable coming round to see you, but I'll happily do a virtual market appraisal where you walk round and then we can have a chat. You know, would that be of interest? Yes. So could you do 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock tomorrow? 1 o'clock. Perfect. Okay. Turned out she was also buying a rental property as well, for the first one. So there's a potential opportunity for renting a property out, and that was half an hour away. So the point is, at the moment, there's loads of opportunities, you know, to speak to people. And one of the things that I was saying, but I would still be saying to people now, is actually, you've got to decide about phasing and furloughing and bringing people back. But for me now, there's a lot of people that are still sitting at home. I think your friend Josh Fegan has said that previously it's a minute and a half you have a conversation on the phone. Now people are having 7.5 minutes conversation on the phone. So there are still a lot of people there at home that are willing to have conversations with you. So for me, I'll be speaking to everyone on my customer bank, database, whatever you call it, data bank, and having these conversations with them, because you may be surprised. You know, you start having a conversation with them and it could be just, hi, David, you know, how are you? And you go, Stephen, I'm so pleased you called. I didn't know whether you were open. Actually, I can't stand my wife. The kids are driving me mad.
I can help you there, man.
The dogs are doing my head in. Help me move. Can you sell my property? And yeah, and then you can start having these conversations and giving the people the option of, do you want me to do it virtually, or do you want me to come and do it subject to all the necessary guidelines? So, there are still business opportunities out there. I've had the conversations with other people. And also on the landlord side, there are a lot of landlords, again, just by having conversations, that are interested in adding to their empire. Again, refinancing opportunities. Mortgage rates are unbelievably cheap at the moment. So there are a lot of landlords that are refinancing at the moment. So again, if you don't have a relationship with a financial advisor, get that relationship now. Start getting your landlords to speak to them, because that's going to make a massive difference. So for me, I think a lot of agents have their pipeline. They're going to get their pipeline through, I think, relatively quickly. But I think what's going to happen is going to be in 3 or 6 months' time, agents are going to struggle cash flow wise. So cash is king, because you're not going to have any sales going through after, hopefully, the sales that go through now in the next 3 to 6 months. So getting on the phone to your customer bank, what you do in the next 30 days is going to impact your business in the next 90 days. So it's really important to be having people, maybe bringing people back that are specifically on the phone to your customers, having those conversations. It can be virtual. And even if they're not now, before, take that lady, 7 years, nobody in touch with her. Yeah. Okay. So now, I say sell Simon the property. So Simon, what we do and what we offer is every year, I'm going to give you a virtual appraisal, annual health check as to what's happened with property. I like you to do a walk, talk me round and show me round, and I can book that into the diary now. So in a year's time, in 2021, I've got a list of market appraisals. It may well be that they've outgrown it in a year and you're going to get a property. So you've got no excuse now never to keep in contact, and again with listings. Okay. With Zoom, you should always now be in front of both decision makers. Okay. So at the moment, I can't, if somebody says, you two, the lovely couple here, Schofield or what's his name? I can't remember it. Piers Morgan and Susanna Reid. Yeah. Okay, the lovely couple you are. Okay.
I'm Piers.
I'm Susanna.
Okay. So it may be that, I do the original appraisal with Piers. Yeah. But then in the evening, I say, look, obviously I appreciate your partner's not here. Your partner may also have questions. When's the convenient time when your partner's home? Let's get all of us on the Zoom call. Let's have this conversation. So again, you should always have that opportunity now to make sure you've got both decision makers there, and that's going to help you. And if you've got a proper stay in touch policy, why should they want to use any other agent? Because you're in regular contact with them now.
That's very true. And one thing you taught me, if you're the only agent in contact with them, the fee that you're able to achieve is always higher because you're not under pressure to match or to beat somebody else's fee. And so that element of competition just goes out of the room. It's a one-way conversation.
Well, look, I think you've hit a big nail on the head there, fees. Okay, so the facts are there will be fewer transactions. Okay, there's going to be a lot of agents fighting for maybe a small piece of the pie. So what are you going to do to add value to demonstrate you are better than any other agent? And for me, it's demonstrating that you are a skilled negotiator. So you need to be, and your team need to be working on their negotiating skills. So let's try something here live with 16 viewers or however many people you got. This is either going to go one way or the other. So David Mintz.
I think we know which way it's going. You said David Mintz. Go on.
So your property, did you buy it through an estate agent?
No, I didn't.
That's good. Simon, did you buy it through an estate agent?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So when you bought the property, how long ago?
10 years.
10 years ago. So how many times you heard from that agent? Okay, so you're in witness protection as well. Okay, when you bought that property 10 years ago, Simon, would you have paid any more money for it?
Sorry, can I just change that last one? I've had a generic mailer, which was Dear Homeowner, even though they had my details. They're probably even worse because it pissed me off even more. Sorry, just say that again.
So when you bought the property 10 years ago, would you have paid any more money for it?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Okay, how much more, please?
I don't know, a couple of dinners, about 50 grand.
Okay, joking aside, how much?
Yeah, no, probably, yeah, but about 50 grand.
You would have paid £50,000 more, seriously?
Yeah, seriously, yeah.
Okay, so would you have paid 51?
I'm the world's worst person because I will pay, but I wouldn't have been able to because I'd have been maxed out at that stage.
Okay, but you would have definitely paid £50,000 more.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, Simon. Who would you prefer to sell your biggest tax-free asset? Me, who's demonstrated in 30 seconds I would have got an extra £50,000 for you, or the agent that cost your vendor £50,000 for their biggest tax-free asset? Who would you?
Let me just check they're not on one of the viewers. Yeah, very good. No,
who would you prefer, Simon?
I don't know. Could I do with an extra 50 grand? I mean, it's chump change, but yeah, I suppose so.
Okay. So look, the investment in my services is 2% plus VAT. And actually, if I charge you 10% plus VAT, I'll still be cheaper than the other agents.
You just tug my forelock. Thank you.
But the point is, that's a very easy way of demonstrating I'm a skilled negotiator. We're already reading in the papers that surveyors are downvaluing. We're reading in the papers that the property market's going to drop by 20% or 30%, depending on who you read. So again, one of the things that I'll be doing is I'll have a repayment calculator. And just work out, if you were to pay an extra £5,000 based on the 25-year loan and an interest rate's 1.5%, do you know how much that amounts to? £1.44 a week. Over the course of a year, that's £75.
Well, that's a steak cake.
There you go. Bring back Greg's.
Greg's steak. When are they coming back from? Yeah.
So one of the things that I think as agents we need to be skilled negotiators, skilled professionals, and we need to be fighting every single penny for those vendors. And likewise, we need to be able to answer the question that's going to be thrown at us. The Daily Mail, the Daily Express, whatever paper says prices are going to drop by 50%. How's our team going to answer those questions? So now again, so if we take Roger Federer, okay, he's a decent tennis player. He's won a few Grand Slams. He doesn't turn up before we play tennis and just hit a few balls and think he's going to win a Grand Slam. He practices 6 or 7 hours a day. I'm not saying estate agents need to practice 6 or 7 hours a day, but, you take Assad and you take Location that won, both of prestigious awards. You look at the training he gives to his team. So, I haven't had very funny enough, Vicky's just come on, so Vicky and Assad have got an exceptional agency in Stoke Newington. I know that I can guarantee that they're already having conversations or been having with their conversations with their team. How do we answer this question? So for me, every agent now, maybe before you even come back, I would actually do a day's training with my team before we actually go back into the offices and start coming up with, right, there's some people here that haven't gone on a listing presentation for 7 or 8 weeks. They're going to be rusty. It's like going into a ring with Mike Tyson and, he's been practicing. He looks very lean and fit at the moment. And you're standing there and you haven't done anything. I don't think you're going to last very long. So
me getting back into that first pub, it's going to be...
Hold you back.
And you're right. In many ways, the questions that you're going to get asked on a market appraisal or evaluation, whatever you choose to call it, they're going to be tougher than normal because people are going to have anxieties that you're going to need to give them comfort on. So one of those anxieties is obviously going to be safety in general. So how do I market my property and keep myself safe? But the other thing is going to be on value. I mean, they're going to want to know. So I don't know if you watched the news report last night, but they shadowed some valuer who I thought actually handled it okay. It's obviously all staged, so he turns up at the house with his mask on and his clipboard, classic estate agent clipboard. By the way, I haven't seen a clipboard in 20 years, so I don't know where they come from. But he turns up with the clipboard and he walks around the house and he says to the woman, I'm not going to tell you that your house value's dropped by 10% because I haven't got evidence to prove that at the moment. And he's right. For these next this is the golden time. For the next few days, next week maybe, you've got no comparable evidence in terms of where the market's at. It's only when we start to sift through all the transactions that are held up in the pipeline to see whether they are now going to go through at the figure that we agreed pre-COVID. And there will be some casualties along that way. And then you see the new offers that start to come in from buyers on stuff that you've got available. I think very quickly, within a month or so, we're going to get some of that evidence out there that people are referring to. And again, I think this is one of the difficulties mortgage valuers are going to have, recent comparables. So
don't we think that isn't there an argument for that? Obviously, there is a huge amount of demand at the moment as well. Don't we think that initial bout of demand would stop that initial crash that we were talking about? And of course, the other thing about, every one of those headlines, like a Daily Express fear factor, is actually an opportunity for you in reality, isn't it? Because of course, the angle is, look, you may have heard and seen a lot in the national news again, but just to remind you, the property market is local by definition. Would you like us to obviously talk to you about that? That's wherein you can make really, you can do well in this market.
And I think you've probably got three different types of valuation or instruction now that's going to come up that perhaps will resist a drop. So let's not forget, we've all been at home, and we've all been nagged by our other halves. So our houses, technically speaking, should be looking better now than ever before because we've all attended to these odd jobs of bits and pieces that need painting. Not Simon, obviously. You've been banished to the shed. But, for the more capable men, we've all been out painting and fixing our roof tiles and all that sort of stuff. So the state of a house is going to be better. So the quality of the stock being brought to the market should actually be better as well. The other thing that you've got is you've spent all of these weeks inside with your kids and the dogs, and you have now worked out what it is that you need from a house, be that an extra room, be that more room in the garden, whatever it may be. So there will be moves that will be precipitated and pushed by this whole COVID thing as well. And then that third group of buyers is probably just the people that wanted to buy before COVID, have got a mortgage offer still burning a hole in their pocket and need to get on that ladder. So
look, and also interest rates are, money's still cheap.
Yeah.
And actually there's a shortage of properties at the moment. So actually for me, I would really get to know my buyers at the moment. I really want to know who's looking to move. And actually, I think as agents, you need to be deal makers. So I think there'll be a lot of off-market deals being done as well.
You need to be treasuring everyone who fails with a bid anywhere. They need to be nurtured onto the next sale, don't they, as best as they can?
Yeah, well, look, I'll go through every old offer I've had this year on all the property, be speaking to those vendors, having those conversations, because maybe that offer wasn't acceptable then. If the buyer's still there, maybe that offer's acceptable now. So that's an opportunity. And just coming back to David, what you said about people living in their home, it's an opportunity for agents to be educating people that they need, vendors need to get their house showroom ready. So, you know, if they're going to market their property, they want to make sure that, you know, your job as agents is to maximize their biggest tax-free asset. They want to make sure it's ready. And secondly, what I'll be doing is, you know, I'm sure you guys, well, Simon, Gazelle, you come across Gazelle. So for me, Gazelle offer this free service where they can get every vendor to digitally fill in all their property forms that are Law Society based. Costs you nothing. Obviously, you've got the reservation agreements, which I think will help get commitment and security for people. But for me, that's a no-brainer. If I'm an estate agent now, I'd get every single property, every single vendor that I've got, get them to speak to Gazelle or whoever, their own solicitor, get their solicitor to send them fixture and fitting forms, property information forms, seller information forms. So literally, as soon as they found a buyer, papers are going to go out. You know, so two things. Time on market obviously is very important for a vendor, and you want to take the stress out of the sale, so you want to help them. But also from your agent's point of view, when you're competing against other agents, you want to demonstrate that your time on market is considerably different and better than your competitors. You know, and I do a lot of research when I go in and do some work with agents, and it's amazing, you know, the days on market, you know, one agent can be 50 days and one agent can be 150 days, you know, and it's massive, you know, and likewise your achieved price to asking price, you know, I do a lot of research on that. So, you know, if one agent's getting 4% more than the other agent, again, you know, that's why you justify your fee. And also demonstrate, you know, so for me, with you know, we won't go talk about what's happened with Rightmove and all of that, but most the public, well, you may touch on it a bit later if you want, but most people, you know, the public think all you do is put a property on Rightmove and that's it. Now, as agents, do we demonstrate actually we've got 40 things we do from when you instruct us to when we complete on it? You know, on lettings, do we tell them that we've got 97 things we do to maximize their investment? You know, because we need to educate our customers a lot more. You know, and now with Zoom and videos, now's the time to be educating people with all these things.
We've got some questions coming in on the Q&A. So
we've been tag teamed here by the Estate Agency Podcast, by the looks of it, David. Look at it.
Yeah, so I'm going to try and, some of them are just more comments, so I'll try and read through those. Here's one that is a question and a comment from a fellow called Andy Overman. Hello, long-time fan of the Kerfuffle Podcast. It made me consider giving up my podcast, which I don't think is in any way comparable. How does Stephen recommend that those that are furloughed are kept match fit both mentally and physically? Now, Stephen, we haven't got the time to go into all of Andy's anxieties here in this question, and our thoughts and prayers are with him. But I think you've touched on two things that I think really answered that question before, that estate agency owners can be talking to their staff now and anticipating the questions that they're going to be asked over the next 2 weeks.
Okay, so again, you know, for me, I think you need to, if you're a business leader, you need to get all your team involved. You need to make sure they're match fit. I'll be getting them to go onto the SJB Consultancy Facebook page every morning. A podcast, a YouTube video is being put on there and asking for people's comments. And again, it's about accountability. So it's great if your team go on there, but you need to hold them accountable. So I'll say, right, let's get on a Zoom call at 1 o'clock. Tell me, David, what's one thing you learned from it? Simon, what's one thing you learned from it? And it's got to be different to what David said as well. So there's so much free stuff out there. You know, it's incredibly sad what's happening. You know, as we said earlier, people are dying, but also this is a great opportunity to upskill yourself, to refine your skills, to become a better lister, a better negotiator, a better objection handler, a better person for asking for the business. And I would get all my listers on a Zoom call like this. Simon, okay, you're going to be the agent. David, you're going to be the vendor. Stephen, you're the observer. Let's talk about fees, and let's practice these and get these
That
right.
dialogue.
The other thing is, the other couple of things is knowledge. Okay, you need to be the most knowledgeable people in your areas. Okay, so give everybody to come up with a knowledge Bible and then start testing them. So supermarkets, gyms, golf courses. So sit down with your team and ask them every single question we've ever been asked by our customers.
Simon can tell you every single takeaway within a 2-mile radius of his office.
Perfect. There you go, Simon. You win that prize. Okay, a year supply of Greg's for you. Okay, but again, that's one thing you can do, and also, now's the time to actually do a Bible of excellence. So, again, look at all your systems and processes and come up, what does world-class look like and what does unacceptable look like? And get all your furlough team to be doing all of that. So when they do come back match fit, they know what world-class is.
That's great advice there. Great advice. So a comment from Karen Gregory, who also goes as the Karen, the ethical landlady. She wants to make it clear that not just men have been improving our houses whilst we've been working from home. Please remember that there are lots of female agents and landlords out there listening to the three of you. ... Karen, I am so sorry for Simon's attitude to women. It's well known. He's berate him for that. No, she's quite right, and I apologise. Next, Spencer Lawrence has asked best ways to be proactive, strategic, and innovative whilst also being kind to yourself. It's a really interesting question because we're all going to go back into work now, Stephen, and we've been at home being very kind to ourselves for the past 7 or 8 weeks. How are we going to go back to work but still maintain that little bit of balance in terms of exercise and time? Have we learned anything from that?
Spencer is the best letting agent in the UK, in my opinion. He is absolutely exceptional. He runs the most incredible business out there. So I'd most probably throw it back to Spencer and take it from him because he's exceptional. What concerns me is that people would just go back doing to what they were doing previously and quickly forget how they have been. I would love to see people being how they were through this crisis, and the kindness and the love we've shown to our key workers and the NHS and the police and everything like that. I can see it changing back to how it was. That's just me being a skeptic.
You can already see that now.
But I think, look, you've got to be true to yourself and good to yourself. What this has shown is that actually you don't have to. We can all work different hours, and actually we may have to work different hours anyway because of getting people in. So, which may be better for our customer, because actually we live in this digital world and people with Uber and Amazon expect things to come in 3 minutes or an hour. Maybe people now are expecting agents to be open to 11, 12 o'clock at night. And actually maybe that's something that's gonna happen, because actually,
aren't they, Stephen? That regardless of the fact they know that many businesses aren't fully staffed, that's not going to. I think David, you were talking about a particularly difficult client who was not sympathetic in the least.
Yes.
Just to interpreting the government's actual rules, they are going to be all over the review sites if they still feel they get a less than perfect service at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah.
And therein lies another opportunity for those that are able to rise to the challenge, though.
And also, actually, that's a really good point. If you do an incredible job now, it's all about the case studies. you know, getting those case studies, getting those video reviews, getting Google reviews when it's back up and running properly, you know, Facebook reviews, LinkedIn reviews that helped you. But look, I think Zoom, and I'm happy to share this with you, I've produced a document which it gives 25 things that you can use Zoom for now and after to better serve your customer. So if it's okay, if people come to the SJB Consultancy Facebook page, like it, share it, and put, please can you send me the Zoom now? Or if you send me a message saying Zoom, I will send it over to you. But for me, you know, these are the sort of things that you can do. Just to give you an example, so, you know, probates, okay, you don't most probably have executors and trustees there. Well, why not get them all together on a Zoom call? You know, a pre-market appraisal Zoom call, getting to know you. As I said earlier, virtual appraisals with both decision makers. Okay, your vendor care, vendor guidance. I can share a screen with you. Every offer can be put forward by Zoom.
Yeah.
You can do overseas, any overseas and out of town landlords. You know, you can walk them around the property. You know, you can talk through a Zoom, get your solicitor to do a Zoom call with your vendor to get them sale ready, a mortgage broker to your buyers to get the mortgage ready. You could even do landlord and investor events via Zoom now and webinar. And get them all in a room and get them talking. You don't need to have people there to do all these things. So, which comes back to Spencer's question, actually, because hopefully Zoom will give you more time, you'll still have time to do the things that are productive. And for me, agency is about plans. So prospecting, listing, adjusting, negotiating, and selling. Okay, so these are the productive things you need to have in your business. Okay, if you don't prospect, you don't have anything to list. If you're lousy at listing, you're not going to have anything to sell. And if you know, in these times, you may have to be adjusting people's prices. You need to be able to have those conversations. And also, if you can't negotiate, then you know you're not going to do justice to the vendor's biggest tax-free asset or the landladies maximizing their investments.
Yeah, there are male landlords as well, you know,
or landlords or landladies.
We don't want to offend anybody. Okay, we've got another couple of great questions from Nyan. Can you please give some advice on accurate virtual valuations? So I think a lot of people who've tried virtual valuations find it perhaps a little bit frustrating. They can't get a full sense of a property in terms of, you know, that feeling you get when you walk in. But is there anything that they could be doing to make that more accurate?
Good question. I haven't been an agent for 7 years, and it's a long time since I've been into a vendor's property to do that. And obviously, it's a different time. I much prefer face to face. But actually, like this, I still think you can build a relationship with people by doing it. You know, for me, I'll be asking them, you know, can you open again? So for me, it's about putting yourselves in the shoes of a buyer. So, you know, what are the typical questions a buyer's going to ask you? So again, you know, if you look at Spencer, okay, so I know Spencer, I hope I'm not breaking his trust here, you know, has looked at viewings and Facebook viewings and done them live. And it's gone from, I just opened the door, to the tenants are saying, well, actually, can you open the cupboards? Can you show me how big the washing machine is? Can you show me how big the garden is? Would you mind stepping into that loft and looking at the loft? Can you show me what the boiler is? You know, these are the things, that the questions that you're going to be asked by any potential buyer or tenant. So, you know, I would have that. And actually, if I'm on a market appraisal, you know, how many listers actually say and sit down at the appraisal and say, what I like to do is, you know, whoever you decide to go through, whether it's me or another agent, your buyer is going to ask you a list of questions. What I like to do is ask you these questions. Now, how many agents do you actually think sit down and actually say that?
Very few. Very few.
As a vendor, would that impress you?
It would, because
or would it demonstrate you're different and start justifying, hold on, I understand why Stephen's a 2% fee, because he's asking things that other agents aren't doing.
Yeah, that's excellent advice.
But I would still go, you asked a question about a virtual appraisal. Do what you do on a market appraisal. You would go round, I would offer advice whilst I'm going around. So, our job as an agent or as a letting agent, as a sale agent, is to add value. On the sale side, we want to make sure that they're maximizing their biggest tax-free asset. As a landlord, we want to make sure they're maximizing their investment. So we want to make sure that they get, they find the right tenant and they're getting a great rent for their property. So look at yourself in the shoes of what's going to add most value to them.
Thank you, Stephen. That's a great answer to that. Here's a great question, and it's more focused on the lettings market. You're going to like this one because I think you're going to have a lot to offer. From Mark Newton. Hello, Mark. Simon, you need to send Mark some Kerfuffle merch. He's specifically requested. I've got his address. I need landlords or landladies. What can I do to get them, as I don't have a marketing department? I don't have a big budget, and I also don't have a big database to feed off.
Paul Long, £1 Facebook group. Go and join it. I'm not on commission. Okay. It's £1 for 30 days. Okay. Follow what he does. He's got some exceptional landlord e-guides that, from my understanding, they are picking up landlords left, right and centre who are sitting at home bored going through Facebook is the easiest way. Simon Whale.
Hello.
Do you have any friends? Really personal question now. Do you have any friends?
Yes, I do, yes.
Okay. Are any of your friends landlords?
Well, they are, yeah.
Okay. Would any of your landlord friends be interested in maximising their investment?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
What I would love to do is to have a virtual coffee with them. Would you be kind enough to either give them my name and number, or what will be even nicer, if for you to, with their permission, give me their name and number, and I'll give them a call in an hour.
Yeah, cool.
Okay. So how many friends have you got that are landlords?
4.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that before we were on this call. So, that's 4 opportunities I've just created. And how much money has that cost?
Well, once we take into account the kerfuffle cut, it's...
Yeah, forget that.
but Stephen, you know what? Tony Robbins goes on about this a lot, and he talks about that in self-development terms. But he always talks about asking better questions, and that is pretty much what you've just done there with Simon, and also what you did when you asked him whether he would have paid an extra £50,000 or whatever he would have paid extra for his house. And sometimes we get so stuck in routine, almost robotic. When you go and visit people, you churn out the same lines, and you're so busy talking about yourself and the fantastic services you're going to offer. You don't take time to ask those questions, do you?
Look, let's go back and let's answer Mark's question as well, and try and give him even more value. So he has got some landlords already that he lets property to. Okay. So, what I would say is, if Spencer's still on here, Spencer is very generous with his time. I'm going to get into so much trouble now. Spencer has done a podcast with the Estate Agents Podcast. He's done a podcast with Josh Fegan. Okay. Listen to those 2 podcasts. So the easiest way, and where Spencer is very, very clever, he's gone from his one landlord, he's got them to buy another one. Okay. So again, look at your landlords, look on Land Registry, see how much they paid for their price for their property, then guesstimate how much it's worth now. If there's loads of equity in that property, see whether he wants to buy another one. As we said, money's cheap. If you get the right loan to value, now could be a good opportunity to increase your empire into a kingdom or universe.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Can we just that's really, really great advice. We've got Raj on Facebook. I don't know if you've just seen this one, Stephen, as well. He's just said, while viewings can be carried out in line with government guidance, how will trust in the safety of being visited by strangers be overcome? And more importantly, what actionable ways are there for agents to help to rebuild trust in the safety of the viewings process?
So I think you've had the government guidance out there. You've had guidance from Property Mark. I'll be doing a series of videos to my vendors, to my market, and letting everybody know what the protocol is, what our procedure is. And, you know, and making it very, very clear from day one, you know, and it's important every single member of your team adhere to that, because I think, and in my opinion, and understandably so, there's a lot of people out there saying, I don't want strangers in my house.
Yeah.
You know, and there's, you know, I've seen it on the comment section. I mean, if you talk about these Facebook groups, you know, most probably half can't wait. They're running back to work. The doors are open. They've most probably opened up. They've got no PPE. They've got no nothing. And, you know, I've heard, I haven't seen, so allegedly that agents are doing viewings without PPE and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So let's face it, what do most people think of estate agents? And keep it clean, because we're not at 9 o'clock.
They're not enthused, put it that way.
Okay. And so we're all being polite. So now, you know, I think Raj is right. It gives us an opportunity to show agents and letting agents in the best light, you know, and that we are caring, we are empathetic, we understand the needs of people. It has to be safety first. That is the most important. We are following every guidance, and and I think video is a really easy way to get your message.
Raj should check out, if you go to the Facebook page for Normie and Company, our company. Yesterday, I did a video yesterday afternoon, just explaining what the new protocol was going to be with regards to viewings, how we were dealing with PPE, how we intended to sort of deal with viewing requests. The whole thing's about 5 minutes, but I'm going to tell you two amazing things that happened after that. One, I got a comment from a lady that said, after the confusing address that Boris gave on Sunday night, David Mintz is the only one that makes any sense. And that's never ever been said before. This lady is actually a tenant in one of our rented properties. And again, she then texted me later to say, you know, look, I'm thinking about buying a house in the future. It's actually now good to know exactly how I can view that. So you're going to give people comfort, and I think if you can get the tone of the video right and that you're sincere, you're going to calm a lot of people down. The second amazing thing that happened, get your colleagues to share these videos. One of our lettings team shared the video, and a landlord that she had previously been in touch with but had a hard time winning them over to bring their properties to us, had seen the video and said, look, you know, I think it's really great that you're being upfront with this information and how you are managing people's expectations. I've got a property that's just come vacant. I'd like to give it to you guys to do. So just off the back of being very open and friendly and being as sincere as you possibly can, let's face it, none of us know exactly what we're doing. We're in uncharted territory over here. And as long as you can communicate that to the client without freaking them out, you're going to win.
100%. So Mark, if you're listening, that's another way to pick up a landlord.
It is. Video works really well like that. Anything that can be shared is superb.
Look, I think for me now, video and Facebook makes it a level playing field. So, you know, I would be doing loads of videos, loads of community stuff, adding value. If we take our good friend, Oliver James, you know, and his community group, M44, he's got 3,000 people on that. I mean, that's incredible. That's a massive, massive audience. You know, and what was interesting is I think I've seen 2 or 3 people, I think it was Ollie actually, that did a poll. Estate agents are going back to work. He had over 300 responses.
He did
on that. You know, and I've seen another poll. So we talk about, you know, Instagram. And again, you know, if you're a landlord, are you looking to increase your portfolio now? Yes or no? You know, are you a seller? Are you looking to sell now or in 3 months or not at all? You know, and start doing these polls and seeing what, you know, what the feeling is in your area as well.
Fantastic. Any other questions there on Facebook?
No, that was it there. There's been a good viewership there. They're all enjoying it. So I think that's fantastic. I have to apologise to you actually, Stephen. I undersold it for the first time in my life. I said you were number 1 on Kerfuffle with 73. It's actually 74. Paul Rolfe gave me a bit of a kicking because one of your video reviews wasn't showing and it was sat in my inbox.
Oh, cheers.
That's just to prove that I do validate every single one of the reviews that goes on. I'm going to spin it as a positive. You've got to be even further whilst sat in your seat.
Perfect. There you go. I wasn't giving them a call to say do it. Right, David Mintz, can you do me a Kerfuffle review, please?
I can do you a wonderful Kerfuffle review.
That's what most Brits don't get, isn't it? Stephen, you've been absolutely fantastic again, open as ever. The fact you're sporting the merch is just makes me love you even more. Never ever heard a bad word about you, which makes it even more sickening. Thanks for giving up your time again, and obviously we'd love to catch up with you in a few weeks' time.
No, appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. I think you two are doing a fantastic job with all the Kerfuffle campus. It's absolutely brilliant, and the value that you're giving. And even though you may be a rival podcast, there is still loads and loads of great stuff. So, you know, tune into Kerfuffle, tune into the Estate Agent Podcast. You know, there are also other good podcasts out there as well. What? Which order?
That's the clip we needed. Let's go. We've done it. Thank you very much, Stephen. Take care.
You're welcome. Thanks a lot.
Everybody, thanks for attending.
Stay safe, everyone.
Bye.